Welcome to Orchestrating Impact, stories from the heart of New Jersey Symphony. I'm your host, Jamara Wakefield. In this transformative podcast, we dive into the profound intersection of music and community connections, delving deep into the heart of the New Jersey Symphony's mission. Join me on a captivating journey as we unravel the untold stories of those whose lives have been touched by the symphony's work. I'll be joined by Gael Barker, a talented violinist and sophomore at George Washington University. We will discover how the power of orchestral music, camaraderie, and friendship at the New Jersey Symphony have helped to shape Gael into the person he is today. As you listen to Gael's inspiring journey with the New Jersey Symphony, you'll discover the incredible opportunities that await young musicians just like you. If you're a young musician between the ages of 8 and 17 who dreams of playing exciting music in a welcoming environment, the New Jersey Symphony Youth Orchestra offers a vibrant, supportive community where you can take your love for music to new heights. Learn more and take the first step at njsymphony.org/youth orchestras. Now my conversation with Gael Barker. Gael, I'm so excited to talk to you. Thank you for spending some time with us here today.
Thank you for having me.
Now, for those who are listening to this conversation, tell us where you're at, because you are broadcasting from a very new space and a very exciting space.
I am coming to you live from Amsterdam Hall and part of the GW University here in Washington, D.C.
And you just moved in.
As of yesterday, I just moved in.
Oh my goodness. I'm so excited that you're starting the new semester. How are you feeling about it?
You know, before coming here and, coming on the way, I was a bit anxious, but, there's some truly wonderful people I'm happy to call my friends. DC itself is just an amazing place. And I feel like with these classes this year, I'm really going to be learning a lot. I'm curious for what's going to be taught. So yeah, I'm enjoying it.
I mean, curiosity is the best place to start when we're learning about anything. So I love that for you. Talk to me a little bit about your upbringing and your earliest musical memories that have led you to this moment at GW.
Well, I was born and raised in Georgetown, Guyana. It's a small country on the northern coast of South America. And although we're part of South America, because, of our legacy with British colonialism, we're much more culturally similar to places like Trinidad and Tobago, a bit of Jamaica, Barbados, like the West Indies. We consider ourselves Caribbean. So, I grew up listening to a lot of calypso, soca, reggae, that sort of thing. But, in addition to that, you have all these groups of other peoples that I kind of felt very influenced. For example, I had grown up with some one of my best friends growing up was like Brazilian, and you would hear like Brazilian music, that sort of thing. And then within Guyana itself, we are divided into we learn in school, there's 6 peoples of Guyana. So Indians, Africans, Portuguese, Europeans, Indians, Chinese, and Portuguese are different because of the indenture. I don't know why. Anyway, that's how they classify it. But each of those peoples have contributed so much to the mixing pot that is Guyana, and each of them have their own, very distinct types of music.
Tell me about your introduction to classical music.
Oh man, it happened when I was little. I'm not exactly sure. I remember my grandmother in the U.S. My dad is American, so we have some family here. Would send down disc, of Mozart piano concerts and all that. And I remember listening to some of that when I was a baby. But also I, was a big fan of the Bach-Yorgans and Little Einsteins. And for those of you who are fans of Little Einsteins, you know that at the beginning of each episode, there's a theme from one of the great classical works, and you would have to
That's right.
listen throughout it. I felt so cool. I love music, and it's funny, even today, like I will come across music I never heard, but then I would like I'd be listening and be like, oh, I've heard that somewhere. And then I look up, what episode that's from or something like that and find the song. But as a result of that, like my mom would say, like, for example, that I used to take 2 pointed brooms, which are, I would take the parts of a pointed broom, which is like this broom that we use. They're these kind of like sticks that we put into them. And I would just act like I was playing the violin, even though, I had no musical training or anything like that.
Can you take us back to those early days of holding that violin and tell us about those feelings of holding it and hearing that sound and how that felt for you as a young kid?
Oh man. Well, my perception of it evolved for sure. I remember going, like, looking at that violin now. It is tiny. It is. I mean, it's like it's literally a half of a full length violin, so it's maybe like this big, and you have to fit everything on that. And I remember when holding it, I just felt it made me feel so alive, like I was excited. I wanted to play it. Maybe I didn't play it so well, but I was just curious and, like try different things with it.
And tell me a little bit more about your relationship with your teachers and your violin mentors.
Oh man, all of them are incredible in their own right. And I mean, each of them are distinct in the way that, they teach. None of them are the same. And each of them, I feel like I've learned a lot from in different ways. Of course, you have my first one, Dr. Mendes. When I went to Clemsville, I was taught by Dr. G. Clark. She's still in Gael, I believe. And when I first came to the States, I was taught by Miss Mickey Hatchett. She's a violist, but it was lovely, and I'm still in contact with her. And that was a relationship that extended beyond the violin. I helped with like yard work and stuff like that. So not only literally creating music, but also just building relationships between people who are both genuinely interested and curious. Of learning about violin. And she would say, I remember her telling me that this wasn't only an experience for me to learn, but also for her to learn about about me and about teaching and about different perspectives of music. And then lastly, for the past couple of years, I have had the absolute pleasure of being able to be taught by Naomi Youngstown, who is a first violinist in the New Jersey Symphony. She's brilliant. I mean, she's very tough, and you have to, she instilled in me discipline. And I remember being intimidated when I first started learning with her. But she showed me sort of the value of hard work.
So I can hear your enthusiasm and how proud you are about those relationships. And I love that. Can you walk me through the journey, though? Because from going from Guyana to New Jersey, that's a huge life transition. And can you talk to me about how the violin was a through line through that experience for you?
Oh, man. So I moved to the States in 2015. Just for some reference, I mean, I was born in Georgetown. That we call it the capital of Guyana, and well, it is the capital, but we call it a city. That's by Guyanese standards. It is more like a provincial town in terms of like American standards. So you had, and there were no buildings taller than like maybe the tallest one was like 5 stories. You have that, and you come to New York. And just that, sort of the tri-state area of Newark and all of that, in addition to the culture shock. And, I was 10, I was about to go through puberty. It was, a rough time. And my dad, the reason we came back was because my dad was studying for his doctorate in psychology. So he was attending classes in the city. So, like he would catch the train at like 5 in the morning. Like there would be some days where I could only see him as he was leaving, like on the street. I remember like him riding his bike, turning the corner, and that was like the only time I saw him. And then he would come back, like late at night from whatever he was doing in the city, well, studying in the city. So it was, and then just the homesickness, it felt like I could die many times. It was just, being away from everything I knew and, family. But again, my mom, as soon as we came to the States, she set out looking for a violin teacher and, a program for me to do that with. And it took a little bit of searching, but she found the symphony. And at the time, we were at the Rutgers, one of the buildings in Newark. And I just remember going with her on that first day. We were just, me and her were just out in the world. We weren't, we didn't know how to do anything. I remember we messed up the parking and all of that. And I remember feeling very intimidated because, it was a dream to be able to play in an orchestra. And I remember going in and one of my favorite memories is seeing, like the AO kid or hearing, like I remember just being in the building and I can't remember what piece they were playing, but AO was they were playing some incredible piece of of orchestral music. And I just remember like sitting there with my mom being like, wow, and then I remember her telling me, it's like, that could be you someday. And that is stuck in my mind since that day. And I started off with the training ensemble and I progressed through the orchestra. I progressed from one level to another. But I just remember for that first year that like every Saturday for those few hours, it felt like it was an escape from, just because I started in school, I didn't really know anybody. It took me a while to learn a lot of the customs here in the US. And I was kind of lonely. And, the violin and, come to the symphony was an escape. And you would meet people. It didn't feel like I had to try to put on a show. We were all there. Like, it didn't matter that I was, a new immigrant kid, like we were all there because we love music. And a lot of the people I met when I first came there, I continued to be friends with all throughout the program.
That really is the power of music, right? It's both a comfort and an anchor, right? That holds us steady. Do you remember your audition? And then can you tell me about some of your friends that you made during your time?
I always, whenever we had the opportunity, everybody was encouraged to audition. And at the lower levels, I really kind of appreciated that because like the beautiful thing about the way that the symphony is structured is that there is a place for you there, regardless of, where you're at. You may be able to play some crazy piece of music or something like that. Or you can, just be, be learning how to read music and, play it on the violin or whatever instrument you have. But I don't know how they do this. Again, these are professionals, but they place you where you belong. And for me, I've always been placed at a level where I felt that I was learning and, was getting ready to go to the next. And, sometimes, auditions, everything was lovely. Although, auditions, you feel a bit anxious, you want to do well.
Sure.
And it's scary, as a kid growing up, going in front of, these, talented musicians, who are going to judge you. But also each audition felt like was a lesson in terms of, not only the audition itself and kind of having us go how to interact with people and how to kind of do that professionally. And I feel like from those skills, I've been able to apply to different things and feel comfortable in sort of stressful situations. But also, like in preparation for the audition, you would have to like plan, you would have to, kind of use the skills you're taught in the orchestra to like practice, to dissect pieces of music to it's sort of like self-discipline in a way. And sometimes you work really hard and you wouldn't get the audition, and that or you wouldn't get through or whatever you wanted, or whether it was a seat or moving up. But and you may suck a little bit, but that's a lesson too. You're not going to get everything in life, even though you work hard at it. But I would come back next year, or even in some cases, maybe the year after that, and I would try and try, and then I would go through. So, and also like you're not on your own with this. You have, everybody else is auditioning too, and you may think that that's all, like competition, but I mean, these are your friends. Everybody's so supportive. I mean, I actually kind of enjoyed the audition process just because but everybody was in the same boat. We were all, saying, we were all giving like, oh, if you play it like this, maybe you get a bit more sound from, like everybody kind of helping each other, like genuinely helping each other out. And in general, that's what I love about the program is that, there is a bit of competition, but at the end of the day, everybody's got your back. And it's the community over the individual, right? And it's about something bigger than yourself. That's something I absolutely love.
Take me back to those memories of making friends. It sounds like in addition to being surrounded by beautiful music that moved you, you were also making connections, right? And that's really important, not only as a young person, as a young musician, right? As someone who's new to New Jersey. Tell me about some of those relationships.
You have people from all states, from Newark, from all, different townships in New Jersey, Elizabeth, Bloomfield, all over the place. You have people from different socioeconomic backgrounds, which I feel like wasn't even a big factor in terms of class, but just, we were all on the same, like everybody just got along. But that was another thing. You had people from different nationalities and different cultures. I had a friend from India, Venezuela, Dominican Republic, Chile, people whose parents come from different cultures. So, it's always interesting during a break to kind of, ask them about their history. And you just meet genuinely interesting people. And then that's not even talking about, like what they contribute to different discussions of music. Like I remember, like even during COVID, right? We went online, and the program still managed to come up with these incredible sort of like sessions that we could do. We could choose all these different either genres of music where we wanted to dig into, or like music from different parts of the world. So I remember I took one about Brazilian music and that sort of thing. And it was interesting to hear, I think maybe one or two Brazilians, or, like people from or Latin American people kind of say, oh, that's similar to this, or have you heard of this type of, so like that perspective of just people from around the world. And in a way, the symphony kind of became a mixing pot, which one of the things I really miss about it. But anyway, I mean, like, as I progressed, you would meet new people. You'd still be friends with people on the other symphonies. Sometimes be friends with people who advanced to the next level before you. And it really didn't matter. You was just still friends with people because you were united to that common love of music. And I remember, like, during AO, we had the amazing opportunity to open the Centennial Gala, where we played on stage and in front of a full house at NJPAC. And although that was crazy, my favorite, and this might be funny to admit, but my favorite memory is just, being backstage, waiting with everybody else, playing, like everybody would say, oh, let me play my part, let me play your part. And you just have these duets of whatever we're doing, or we would like have these little competitions of like guess the song, or we would just kind of have like the equivalent of like impromptu like battles of classical-ish music that we would come up with, or something like that, or just like you would just have all sorts of like fun things going on, and then or you just talk with people, or everybody's just there and you're just socializing, and that's another thing. Like people would be socializing regardless of the instrument that they would play, and so you learn more about their perspectives and things that you wouldn't have known about other instruments in the orchestra. So again, just that incredible pool and all that diversity within it in terms of knowing people.
Do you have a favorite composition that you were introduced to while you were at the symphony?
There is one piece that really stands out. And it was the last piece that I played. During my year, I had the privilege of being able to the orchestra was conducted by Maestro Dominguez. And it was his last concert too. And for the last piece, we did the fourth movement of Tchaikovsky's Fifth Symphony. And it is an absolute it was an absolute masterpiece. It was it wasn't any variation or anything. That's another thing that I appreciated. It was the same score. It was the real piece. It wasn't sliced or diced or anything like that. You played the entire movement. And it's this triumphal, really grandiose finale. And I remember there's this one section where the theme was occurring for like the last time, and the strings are all playing. It was fortissimo, so it's very, very loud. And his thing was like, look at the conductor, which is what you should do all the time. But I remember looking at him and playing this and I knew like this is the last piece I played at the symphony, and his last piece too. He was an amazing. Like I always thought of the orchestra as a family. With him as the dad, And I remember looking up at him and tears in his eye, and I was feeling a whole mix of things, because it was how I capped off more or less 8 years with the symphony, and I think it was one of the most beautiful moments of my life, to be honest.
You've learned a lot on this path, and I imagine you have some lessons learned. So I'm curious, what advice would you give young musicians who are beginning their journey with an instrument, or perhaps young people who are considering an instrument?
Oh man. In general, I think one of the main sort of concepts that really helped me in my personal journey, that kind of started this incredible, history I've had with music, is just the idea of trying something new, trying something different. You may think that it's so belittling to think that you are just automatically going to be good at something when you haven't even tried. So that's the first step. I tried and I really enjoyed it. And another thing, while I've said so many good things about the benefits of playing the violin, I mean that's the long term, right? And you get there from certain steps. Many times it can be a little frustrating, trying to work on maybe the same piece of music over, or same, line or bar or whatever, and you may be messing up, and you may, lack motivation or lose motivation rather from that. But, you just gotta keep through. You gotta keep pushing through. I mean, for me personally, there was a time I remember, I think it was when I was going into high school and a lot of things were going on. It felt like I hit a roof, and because you do have to put in the work. But even though that was the case, it was a lesson in self-discipline. I said, I can do this. I'm capable of doing this. I'm capable of disciplining myself and persevering, and overcoming whatever, all these little tips, And there've been a lot of times like that, but these are lessons that, I mean, the violin, yes, it teaches you music, but it also teaches you really, vital skills in terms of, that can be applied in other areas of your life. So, there were ups and downs along the way, but if you keep with it, if you have that motivation, and a large bit of that motivation can come if you join something like, a symphony where you're in together with other people, then, the sky's the limit in terms of what you can do if you put your mind to it.
Gael, what a beautiful journey that you've been on. And thank you so much for sharing your experiences and your passion and your creativity and all of yourself with us here today. And we wish you the best of luck this semester. And of course, keep playing. Are you, or do you know, a young instrumental musician between the ages of 8 and 17? Curious about or already love playing symphonic music? Eager to connect with your peers in a fun, nurturing environment where you're encouraged to go beyond what you thought was possible? Check out the New Jersey Symphony Youth Orchestra. For more information, go to njsymphony.org/youth orchestras. Orchestrating Impact, Stories from the Heart of New Jersey Symphony was produced by New Jersey Symphony and ABF Creative. The New Jersey Symphony team includes Marshall Jones-Kumaha, Greta Polsky, and Jeff Anderson. The team from ABF includes Wanda Reynolds, Anthony Frazier, Mike Biseglia, Rondell Patterson, and Misty Avenger. Video lead by Justin Lear. I'm Jamar Wakefield. Thank you for watching and listening.